Alright, welcome back. So, I made like at least 4 different types of videos before I gave up, deleted them all, remade it because it just took too long. So, we're gonna start again. This is the animation one. So how do we switch between animations, between sets of animations that we have, due to the fact that if we go into our animations folder that I gave out, we have in the shooter, the animation folder, we have 4 different distinct animations, each one being in different states, whether you're equipped, non-equipped, aiming, or not aiming. And for that, we're going to have to use another state machine, and this one's going to be in a hierarchy or a concurrency, whichever one you like to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our animation state that we had before. We're just going to copy and paste and make a new animation. Yes, if you're actually a coder and you know how to do polymorphism and inheritance or friends, do it, but for now we're trying to make something readable for everybody else. Now what we're gonna do from here is so what we're gonna do from here is we're gonna add a few things. What we're gonna add first is we're gonna switch out the animation state. We're gonna keep it the exact same way. We're gonna take the anim state and we're going to make a new state. It's called a shooter state, which would be the normal, equipped, and aimed. And I'm going to remove the procedural from our old one, and we're going to add the idle. Now that's number one. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add one more function, call it shooter state, and this is going to be our main state, and then the chain state is going to be inside this. You'll figure out once I start writing it down. And number 3, the main difference is going to be instead of using property parameters for the 4 different files, we're going to use property array. And for the property array, we're going to have the anim normal, anim equip, anim aim. And in terms of where we're going to put this file, we're going to go inside the main character into the shooter node reference. We're going to press edit, and then we get a drop down, which is our object mesh skinned, and we're going to give him the code. And this guy is just going to take care of all our animations. Now we also have an is equip toggle, which is basically this guy, and that's your boolean, but for now I muted it, so we're not going to be using it. And just run this so you can get the property animation component system and just add it to that. Once you're done adding it, just hit apply, hit save, and it's inside our node reference. And now we can start coding stuff. So we're gonna just copy paste most of the stuff, and we're gonna change a few things. So first things first, we're gonna copy and paste this guy right in here, and we're just gonna change the animation state to shooter anim, and that saves us 100 times the amount of time we need. Now we're also going to use the animation state, so just copy and paste this. We're going to do a little changes to this, but we're going to do that later, and you'll already notice it's going to do that. Shooter anim idle, and just keep doing this, and you're gonna see the error for the procedural. We're gonna change all those procedurals to idles because we're gonna make it in the idle part. Okay, so that's that. Now for initialization, we can just write it in init. I don't mind doing that. Let's just copy first the main character and the set num layers. Okay, now for this set num layers, now that we have 4 different animations of 3 files, that's a 4 times 3, which is a 12. We're going to use our anim states and shooter state count, and we're going to just write that there. So anim states.count times shooter state count. Okay, and with that, now we have 4 times 3, which is a 12 animation state. Now the next thing we're going to do is actually do all this in I guess one for loop, and we're going to make it an int. And then for length, we're just going to do it 4 times. The reason why we're doing it 4 times is because when we go here, we have 4 of them actually set up in pairs of arrays. So we have 4 times 3, which is 12, and so we're gonna do this 4 times, and we're just gonna use it 3 times inside each loop. So instead of just like confusing you guys, we'll just do a constant character pointer, call it temp, and I'm just gonna copy paste one of these guys. Let's just copy this guy for now. Okay, and then for length, as I said, we're going to do it 4 times, so let's just take this anim state count because it's already constant. And then for GUID, we're going to use our anim normal. Now remember, this is an array, so make sure you get the array here. And then for this, we're going to use I because we're going to loop through the array. We're going to do this 3 times. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to add this into our animation, and we're going to set these into our animations too. So first, let's add it. So we're going to do, where are we? We're going to do this all in one line. So we're going to do a main character. Okay, set animation. Okay, and then we're going to do I, comma, and then we're going to use the number, which is actually just this line. All right, so we're just going to do this, and instead of idle, we're going to use temp. Now, this looks a little confusing, but it's basically we're saving a few lines here. And this is going to give us for anim normal 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now, let's just go back into here, copy this, and then enter, paste it 2 times more. So now we're going to use the anim equip. We're just going to recycle through these. Anim equip, and then change this one to anim aim. So now we're going to go loop through these again and again, but for this one we're going to add it alongside the amount of counts we have. So we're going to do it plus this, and then plus in brackets this times 2. Now what does this all mean? So we have about, if we go here, we have about 12 layers, right? And we want to layer it exactly in the sequence that we want. And in our case, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's 12 layers right there, from 0 to 11. So our 4th layer and our 8th layer are going to be idle, but they're going to be the equipped idle and aim idle. So what we're going to do is just do a little bit of math where we're going in 4s, and what we're going to do is for 0th we're going to have the anim normals idle as its 0th. For the 4th layer, which is going to be the equipped idle layer, we're going to add that difference. So 0 plus 4 is 4, and then 0 plus 8 is aimed 8, and that just makes it a lot easier to write than, say, writing it 12 times or something. Okay, next, where are we? We're here. So in terms of our animations, we're going to be using 4 at a time, and we're not going to be using all 12 at the same time. So let's say if we were in the unequipped mode, does it make sense to be running the equipped and the aimed animation frames, or the movement of those transformations? Because to move a transformation in animation, you have to move every bone in the body. And if we look here, the animation dude has at least like 50 bones. So imagine using 50 transformations per frame. That's a lot of inefficient movement. That's just a waste of our processing. So what we do instead is we go into the for loop, we go into int, and we're going to do the same anim states count. We're just going to repeat the 4 that we need. All right, and in that, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a main character. All right, and then we're going to do a set frame. Okay, and then the frame it's going to ask for which layer. We're just going to use the layer that we need plus the animation state that we are in. And then on the other one, we're just going to copy and paste this. So let's do this. And then for the layer, we're going to actually just use I, so 0, 1, 2, 3, plus the animation state that we are in, or the shooter state that we're going to be in. So normal, equipped, or aim. In our case, we are going to be using the shooter state. So we're going to use state as our understanding, but at the same time, state only goes 0, 1, 2. So we're actually just going to multiply it by the amount of count. Now this is basically redundancy right here, and it states to count times the state that we're in. So in this, we were in no state. We were in normal, which was 0, so we didn't write it. Here we were in state 1, which is number 4, and here we're in state 2, which is count 2. So if you want to rewrite this, you could just write it like this, and over here instead of state, you could write shooter state equals normal shooter state equals equipped and aim, but that's just waste of lines. So now we saved this, so instead of writing that whole line, we managed to write it in this. You could call it refactoring, but it's not really that much refactoring as I would like. But anyways, here's this, and then we're almost done. We have one more. We have the shooter state. Now for shooter state, I'm just gonna write it here. So we're gonna do the void shooter anim shooter state, and we're going to do the same thing, a switch, and we're going to do state. And now we have the normal, equipped, aimed, and the count. Remove the count, we don't need it. And now we have to use our concurrency state control. And what we're going to do is actually change our original function that we have here. So let me just do here and zoom it in a little. Oh, it hurts my eyes. So in our original state machine, these if conditions allowed us to switch between our states, but the main controller is this. So what we're going to do is we're going to always change it on the original normal idle, but we're going to add a shooter state difference here and here. So it's going to be from the previous state of the shooter plus the new state of the shooter. So instead of understanding it like that, let's just do this. And now we have an argument in our thing. Just make sure we add it in here. So in our change state, we have an argument. So now we're just going to add plus shooter state. Now this shooter state is going to be our change in between our what do we call our walk and our run. Now there's two things I see here that I can already tell you will make us a mistake, and the first thing is that, let's see if it is here. No, it's not. We have everything in correct order. I take that back. We are correct, and okay, so now that we have it like this, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do a change state, and then we're gonna write the shooter state difference. So it's going to be the easiest way to do this would be the anim states count times the current shooter state that you want it to be. So shooter state, and this we want it to be normal. So now it's going to be 4 times 0, which is 0. For equipped and aimed, we're going to change this normal to equipped, and we're going to change this to aimed. So now if you're in the shooter state of equipped, you're going to be using 4 times 1, which is going to be 4, 5, 6, and 7, which is perfect. And then in here, in the old code, we chose change state, but in the new code, we're going to do shooter state. And that would be, I believe that would be everything. I hope I didn't make a mistake here and there. And just to test it out, we're going to use, let's say, equipped. Yeah, so we're going to say shooter state equipped. All right, let's save it here and run it. And now our character, yeah, don't worry about that. And now our character is actually in equipped mode, meaning he's just carrying the weapon. So now when we move, he's actually using the equipped animation. We run, he's using the run animation. He's running pretty funny. And if we reverse, he's in the reverse animation. Okay, so we got that working. And just to make sure, let's change it into aimed just to double check. And he is in aimed. If I walk, reverse walk, run. Perfect. So he is in aimed position. So our state machine is now working perfectly. And let's just make it so we can actually test the switching. So let's just go into normal. All right. And let's just say if the character presses, let's just use one of these if statements here. So let's just say if the character presses, let's do Q. If the character presses Q, then we're gonna say state equals to shooter state equipped. So it switches from the normal to its equipped. So now we're here. Let's just press Q. Let's say we pressed Q, and he has transformed into equipped. So that means he has now equipped the weapon, and he is using the equipped what do we call animation controllers. So everything's working perfectly fine. I'm just gonna mute this, and I'm gonna say for next episode we're gonna do our actual logic between switching stuff. Now this would actually require you to talk to another what do we call another class and another property inside our Unigine, and that requires a whole episode on itself. So anyways, glad I managed to make this faster than it was before. I had a whole half hour. This was probably like 20 minutes or something. I'll check later. But anyways, it was nice doing this. I will talk to you guys again. Goodbye.